Imagine a powerful being, wings spread wide, sword gleaming in the light. This isn't just any angel, it's Archangel Michael, God's own fighting angel. You might think angels are all about harps and fluffy clouds, but Michael breaks that mold. He's a warrior, a protector, and a force to be reckoned with. Today, we're diving into the exciting world of this heavenly fighter. Get ready for tales of epic battles, divine missions, and the unbreakable spirit of God's most fierce defender. Think about it, in a universe where good and evil are locked in an eternal struggle, who stands on the front lines? That's right, it's Michael. He's not just any soldier, he's the commander-in-chief of God's armies. When darkness threatens, when evil seems too strong, Michael is there, leading the charge. His very name is a battle cry, who is like God? It's a challenge to any force that dares to stand against the divine. But why should we care about an angel from ancient stories? Well, Michael's tales aren't just dusty old myths. They're packed with lessons about courage, faith, and standing up for what's right. In a world that often feels chaotic and scary, Michael reminds us that there's always hope, always a force for good ready to fight back against darkness. Whether you're a believer or just love a good story, Michael's adventures will inspire you, thrill you, and maybe even change how you see the world around you. So, who exactly is this Archangel Michael? Let's start with the basics. In the grand hierarchy of heaven, Michael stands at the very top. He's not just an angel, he's an archangel. Think of him as a general in God's army. His name, Michael, comes from Hebrew, and it's not just a random choice. It means who is like God? This name isn't just a label, it's a statement of power, a challenge to any force that might try to rival the divine. Now, Michael isn't confined to just one faith. He's a big deal in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But today, we're focusing on what the Bible says about him. And let me tell you, the Bible paints quite a picture. In its pages, Michael isn't some distant, unapproachable figure. He's right in the thick of things, fighting battles, protecting God's people, and facing down the biggest, baddest evils you can imagine. What makes Michael so special? Well, unlike many other angels we hear about, Michael isn't just a messenger or a guardian. He's a warrior, through and through. When God needs someone to lead the charge against evil, Michael's the one who steps up. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty, so to speak. Do angels even have hands? Whether it's battling fallen angels, protecting entire nations, or going toe-to-toe with Satan himself, Michael's always ready for action. But don't think Michael's all brawn and no brains. The stories about him show an angel of incredible wisdom and compassion too. He's a protector, yes, but also a guide and sometimes even a comforter to humans. In many traditions, Michael is seen as the angel who helps souls find their way to heaven after death. So he's not just fighting evil, he's actively helping good souls reach their final reward. What's really cool about Michael is how he bridges the gap between the divine and the human. In the Bible and other traditions, he often interacts directly with people. He's not some distant, unreachable being. He's right there in the trenches, so to speak, fighting alongside God's people. This makes him feel more real, more relatable than some other divine figures. As we dive deeper into Michael's story, you'll see that he's not just important in ancient tales. His influence has spread far and wide, inspiring art, literature, and even popular culture. From Renaissance paintings to modern-day movies, Michael's image as the ultimate divine warrior has captured imaginations for centuries. But why does Michael matter to us today? In a world that often feels chaotic and sometimes even evil, Michael represents hope. He reminds us that good can triumph over evil, that standing up for what's right is always worth it, even when the odds seem impossible. His stories encourage us to be brave, to protect the vulnerable, and to never give up fighting for what's good and just. Now that we've got a general idea of who Michael is, let's dig a little deeper. In the grand scheme of things, Michael isn't just any angel. He's often considered the greatest of all angels. Some traditions even place him as the highest-ranking angel in heaven, right at God's right hand. That's a pretty big deal. But what exactly does an archangel do? Well, in Michael's case, a whole lot. His primary role is that of a protector and a warrior. Think of him as the chief of God's heavenly security force. When there's a threat to God's people or God's plan, Michael's the one who steps up to handle it. He's not sitting on a cloud playing a harp, he's out there, sword in hand, ready to take on any challenge. One of the coolest things about Michael is how he's described in various texts. The Bible doesn't give us a detailed physical description, but other traditions have filled in the gaps. He's often portrayed as a young, strong warrior, decked out in armor that gleams like the sun. His wings are said to be massive and powerful, capable of creating windstorms with a single flap. And his sword? It's not just any weapon. It's often described as a sword of light, capable of vanquishing darkness with a single stroke. But Michael isn't just about fighting. He's also seen as a bringer of justice and mercy. In many traditions, he's the angel who weighs souls after death, helping to determine their final fate. This paints him as not just a warrior, but also as a fair and compassionate judge. It's a reminder that true strength isn't just about physical power, but also about wisdom and fairness. One of the most fascinating aspects of Michael is his role as a leader. He's not a lone wolf type of warrior. Instead, he's often described as the commander of God's armies. This means he's not just strong, but also a skilled strategist and leader. He knows how to inspire and guide others, rallying the forces of good against evil. This leadership role makes him a powerful symbol of how we can work together to overcome challenges and fight for what's right. In many stories, Michael is also seen as a healer and a guide. He's said to have the power to cure illnesses and protect people from harm. Some traditions even say he can grant miracles to those who pray to him. This adds another layer to his character. He's not just about fighting evil, but also about actively promoting good and helping those in need. One of the most important things to understand about Michael is his unwavering loyalty to God. Everything he does, every battle he fights, is in service to the divine plan. His very name, who is like God, is a constant reminder of his devotion. This loyalty isn't blind obedience, though. It's a deep, unshakable faith in the power of good over evil, of light over darkness. As we explore more of Michael's stories, you'll see how these different aspects of his character come into play. From epic battles in heaven to personal interventions in human affairs, Michael's actions always reflect his roles as protector, warrior, leader, and servant of God. His stories aren't just exciting tales of celestial combat, they're lessons in courage, faith, and the power of standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. Let's journey back in time to the Old Testament, where we first meet Archangel Michael. Now, you might think such an important figure would be all over the place, but the truth is, Michael doesn't show up much in these ancient texts. But don't let that fool you. When he does appear, it's always for something big and important. The book of Daniel is where we really get to know Michael. Here, he's described as a prince, but not just any prince. He's called the Great Prince who protects your people. This isn't some fancy title with no real power. It means Michael is actively watching over and defending the people of Israel. Imagine having a superpowered, heavenly bodyguard looking out for you. That's basically what Michael was for the Israelites. In one part of Daniel's visions, we see Michael stepping in during a time of great trouble. The text says, "At that time Michael, the great prince who protects your people, will arise." This shows us that Michael isn't just hanging around in heaven. When things get tough, when God's people are in danger, he's right there, ready to fight. It's like having the ultimate superhero on your side, but this hero has the power of heaven behind him. Another interesting mention of Michael comes in a part where Daniel is given a glimpse into the spiritual realm. An angel tells Daniel about fighting against evil forces and says, "No one supports me against them except Michael, your prince." This is huge. It shows that even among angels, Michael stands out. He's the go-to guy when there's a tough battle to be fought. These Old Testament appearances set the stage for who Michael is. They show us a powerful, protective figure who's not afraid to get involved in the struggles of both heaven and earth. He's not some distant, unreachable being. He's right there in the thick of things, fighting for what's right. But why is Michael so focused on protecting Israel in these stories? Well, in the Old Testament, Israel was seen as God's chosen people. By protecting them, Michael was carrying out God's will. He was making sure that God's plans could unfold, even when powerful forces were trying to stop them. These early stories about Michael teach us something important. They show us that even in ancient times, people believed there were powerful forces fighting on the side of good. Michael represents hope, the idea that no matter how dark things get, there's always someone strong enough to stand up against evil. As we flip to the New Testament, Michael's role gets even more exciting. Here, we see him not just as a protector, but as a full-on warrior in a cosmic battle. The book of Revelation, which is full of vivid and sometimes wild visions about the end times, gives us the most action-packed view of Michael. In Revelation chapter 12, we get a scene that could be straight out of an epic movie. There's a great war in heaven, and guess who's leading the charge for the good guys? That's right, it's Michael. The text says, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. This dragon isn't just any old beast, it represents Satan himself, the biggest bad guy in the Bible. This heavenly battle is huge. It's not just some small skirmish, it's an all-out war that decides the fate of the cosmos. Michael isn't just fighting, he's leading an entire army of angels. Imagine the scene, flashes of light, the clash of celestial weapons, angels zooming through the sky. And at the center of it all is Michael, probably with that famous sword of his, taking on the forces of evil. The best part? Michael wins. The text goes on to say, but he, the dragon, was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. This is a major victory. Michael and his angels kick Satan and his followers out of heaven, sending them down to earth. It's like the ultimate good versus evil showdown, and the good guys come out on top. This story does more than just give us an awesome battle scene. It shows us that Michael isn't just powerful, he's more powerful than Satan himself. In the grand cosmic struggle between good and evil, Michael is God's champion, the unbeatable warrior who ensures that good triumphs in the end. But the New Testament doesn't just show Michael as a distant figure in heavenly battles. In the book of Jude, we get a glimpse of Michael interacting more directly with earthly matters. There's a mention of Michael arguing with the devil over the body of Moses. The interesting thing is how Michael handles this. The text says he didn't dare to condemn Satan but said, "The Lord rebuke you." This story shows us another side of Michael. Yes, he's incredibly powerful, but he's also humble. He doesn't rely on his own authority but defers to God's power. It's a reminder that even the mightiest of angels serves a higher purpose and doesn't act on his own whims. These New Testament stories expand our view of Michael. He's not just a protector of one nation anymore. Now, he's a key player in the big picture of God's plan for the whole world. He's fighting battles on a cosmic scale, dealing with the biggest sources of evil, and always standing firm on the side of good. Now that we've seen Michael in action in both the Old and New Testaments, let's break down the different jobs this busy archangel has. Michael isn't a one-trick pony, he wears many hats in his role as God's right-hand angel. First and foremost, Michael is a protector. This is probably his most famous role. Whether it's shielding the entire nation of Israel or guarding individual believers, Michael is always on guard duty. Think of him as the ultimate bodyguard, but instead of protecting celebrities, he's watching over God's people. This protection isn't just physical, it's spiritual too. Michael is often seen as a defender against evil influences and temptations. Next up, we have Michael the warrior. This isn't just about being strong or good with a sword, though he's definitely both of those things. Michael's warrior role is about actively fighting against evil in all its forms. Remember that battle in Revelation? That's Michael at his warrior best, leading the charge against the forces of darkness. But this fight isn't limited to big, cosmic battles. Many believe Michael is constantly battling evil spirits that try to harm or mislead people. Michael also plays a role as a messenger. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't that Gabriel's job? And you'd be right, Gabriel is famous for bringing messages from God. But Michael gets in on the action too. In many traditions, Michael is seen as a communicator between heaven and earth, bringing divine messages and guidance to humans. He's like a celestial postman, delivering important news from God. Here's an interesting one. Michael is often seen as a guide for souls. Many believe that when someone dies, Michael helps guide their soul to heaven. Some traditions even say he weighs the souls to see if they're worthy of entering paradise. It's like he's the friendly usher of the afterlife, making sure everyone gets to where they need to go. Michael is also seen as an intercessor. This means he prays for and pleads the case of humans before God. It's like having a powerful friend who can put in a good word for you with the boss. Many people pray to Michael, asking him to intercede on their behalf, especially in times of trouble or temptation. In some traditions, Michael plays a role in nature too. He's associated with fire and with the sun, seen as a bringer of light both literally and figuratively. Some even credit him with things like bringing rain or controlling the weather. It's like he's got a part-time job as a divine weatherman. Lastly, Michael is seen as a leader and teacher. Remember, he's not just any angel, he's an archangel, often considered the head of all angels. This means he's got a leadership role, guiding and instructing other angels. And this leadership extends to humans too. Many look to Michael as an example of courage, faith, and standing up for what's right. All these roles paint a picture of Michael as an incredibly busy and versatile angel. He's not just sitting around on a cloud, he's actively involved in all sorts of heavenly and earthly affairs. From cosmic battles to personal guidance, from protecting nations to helping individual souls, Michael's got his angelic hands full. What's really cool about all these roles is how they work together. Michael's not just a tough guy who fights bad guys. He's a complex figure who balances strength with compassion, power with humility. He fights evil, yes, but he also nurtures good. He's a warrior, but also a guide and a helper. This multifaceted nature of Michael makes him relatable in many ways. No matter what you're going through in life, there's an aspect of Michael that speaks to it. Need protection? Michael's got you covered. Fighting against temptation or negative influences? Michael's there to back you up. Looking for guidance or intercession? Michael's on it. Stories about Michael, tales of the Archangel's might. Now that we know about Michael's many roles, let's dive into some of the most famous stories about him. These tales come from various traditions and really bring Michael's character to life. One of the most well-known stories about Michael comes from Jewish tradition. It's the tale of Michael and Satan arguing over the body of Moses. The story goes that when Moses died, God sent Michael to bury him. But Satan showed up, claiming he had rights over Moses' body. Now, you'd think Michael would just zap Satan with his heavenly powers, right? But instead, he simply said, "The Lord rebuke you." This story shows Michael's humility and his trust in God's authority, even when facing his biggest enemy. Another exciting tale involves Daniel and the lion's den. While the Bible doesn't specifically mention Michael in this story, many traditions say he was the angel who shut the lions' mouths. Imagine Daniel, trapped in a den with hungry lions, and suddenly Michael appears, commanding the beasts to leave him alone. It's a powerful image of divine protection. There's also a story from Islamic tradition where Michael and Gabriel are sent to Earth to fetch some dust to create Adam. The Earth, knowing this dust would be used to create beings that might sin, refuses to give up any dust. Michael returns to God empty-handed, respecting the Earth's wishes. But Gabriel forcibly takes the dust, showing a different approach. This story highlights Michael's gentle nature and respect for all of God's creation. In Christian tradition, there's a famous story of Michael defeating Lucifer, another name for Satan, in the war in heaven. This epic battle is often depicted in art, showing Michael with his sword, standing triumphantly over a defeated Lucifer. It's the ultimate good vs evil showdown, with Michael as the hero. Many cultures have stories of Michael appearing to people in times of need. There's a tale from Mont Saint-Michel in France, where Michael appeared to a bishop, instructing him to build a church. This led to the creation of the famous Mont Saint-Michel Abbey. It shows how Michael's influence extends beyond just fighting battles. He also inspires faith and the creation of holy places. These stories, whether you see them as literal truth or meaningful legends, all highlight different aspects of Michael's character. They show him as powerful yet humble, a fierce warrior yet also gentle and respectful. They portray him as God's faithful servant, always ready to carry out divine will, whether that means fighting epic battles or helping individuals in need. Archangel Michael hasn't just made an impact in religious texts, he's left a huge mark on art and culture too. For centuries, artists have been inspired by this powerful angelic figure, creating countless works that bring his image to life. In art, Michael is almost always portrayed as a young, strong warrior. He's usually shown with large, powerful wings, a reminder of his heavenly nature. Most of the time, you'll see him holding a sword or a spear, ready for battle. Sometimes, he's depicted wearing armor, highlighting his role as a divine soldier. One of the most famous poses you'll see in art is Michael standing over a defeated devil or dragon, symbolizing his victory over evil. Many great artists throughout history have painted or sculpted Michael. Think of Raphael's Saint Michael vanquishing Satan, or Guido Reni's The Archangel Michael defeating Satan. These works don't just show Michael's strength, they capture his grace and divine nature too. Even in the heat of battle, he's often shown with a calm, determined expression, embodying the idea of righteous power. But Michael's influence goes beyond just paintings and sculptures. Many churches and cathedrals around the world are dedicated to him. One of the most famous is Mont Saint-Michel in France, a stunning abbey built on a rocky island. It's a testament to how much people have revered Michael throughout history. In modern culture, Michael continues to be a popular figure. He shows up in books, movies, and TV shows, often portrayed as a powerful ally in the fight against evil. From fantasy novels to Hollywood blockbusters, Michael's image as the ultimate heavenly warrior continues to capture imaginations. Many towns and cities around the world are named after Michael too. From St. Michael, Minnesota in the United States to São Miguel Island in Portugal, his name is literally on the map in many places. This shows just how widespread his influence has been. Michael even has his own feast day in many Christian traditions, September 29th, often called Michaelmas. It's a day when people celebrate Michael and all angels. In some places, it's marked with parades, special meals, and other festivities. All this art and cultural influence shows us something important. Michael isn't just a figure from ancient texts. He's a powerful symbol that continues to inspire people today. Whether it's through a beautiful painting, a grand cathedral, or a modern story, Michael's image as a protector and warrior for good continues to resonate with people around the world. Now that we've explored who Michael is, his roles, and his impact on culture, let's think about what we can learn from him. Even if you're not religious, there are some powerful lessons we can take from the stories and symbolism surrounding this archangel. First and foremost, Michael teaches us about courage. In every story, he's facing down evil, often against seemingly impossible odds. But he never backs down. This isn't about being fearless, it's about doing what's right even when it's scary. In our own lives, we all face challenges that can seem overwhelming. Michael's example encourages us to stand firm and face these challenges head-on. Another big lesson from Michael is about protection. He's always looking out for others, whether it's entire nations or individual souls. This reminds us of the importance of caring for those around us. We might not be fighting cosmic battles, but we can all do our part to protect and support the people in our lives. Michael's stories also teach us about humility. Remember how he didn't rely on his own authority when arguing with Satan, but said, "The Lord rebuke you"? Even though he's incredibly powerful, Michael always points back to a higher authority. This teaches us that true strength isn't about showing off or putting ourselves first, it's about serving a greater purpose. Leadership is another key lesson we can learn from Michael. He's often shown leading armies of angels. But his leadership isn't just about giving orders, it's about inspiring others and working together towards a common goal. In our own lives, whether at work, in our communities, or in our families, we can strive to lead by example and bring people together. Michael also teaches us about the importance of justice. In many traditions, he's seen as a fair judge, weighing souls and fighting against evil. This reminds us to always strive for what's right and just, even when it's not easy. Perhaps one of the most powerful lessons from Michael is about hope. No matter how dark things get in the stories about him, Michael is always there, fighting for good. This can inspire us to keep hope alive in our own lives, to believe that good can triumph even in the darkest times. Lastly, Michael's unwavering faith and dedication remind us of the importance of staying true to our beliefs and values. Whether you're religious or not, having a strong sense of what you believe in and sticking to it can give you strength and purpose. As we come to the end of our exploration of Archangel Michael, it's clear that this figure is much more than just a character in ancient stories. From the pages of religious texts to the canvases of great artists, from grand cathedrals to modern pop culture, Michael's influence has spanned centuries and touched countless lives. We've seen Michael as a fierce warrior, a gentle protector, a fair judge, and a loyal servant of God. We've explored his roles in cosmic battles and personal interventions. We've looked at how he's been portrayed in art and celebrated in culture. Through it all, Michael emerges as a powerful symbol of courage, justice, and hope. The stories of Michael remind us that there's always a force for good in the universe, always someone fighting on the side of what's right. In a world that can often seem chaotic and sometimes even cruel, this is a comforting and inspiring thought. But perhaps the most important thing about Michael is not just what he does in these stories, but what he inspires us to do. His example challenges us to be braver, to stand up for what's right, to protect those who need help, and to keep faith even in the darkest times. Whether you see Michael as a literal angelic being or a powerful metaphor, his story has something to offer everyone. It reminds us that we all have the capacity to be warriors for good in our own lives, fighting against injustice, protecting the vulnerable, and striving to make the world a better place. As we go forward, may we all carry a little bit of Michael's spirit with us. May we face our challenges with courage, treat others with compassion, and always strive to be a force for good in the world. After all, in our own ways, we can all be angels to those around us, bringing light to the darkness and hope to those in need.